Another week and another key player missing from the Habs lineup. We'll talk about David Savard and the Habs' busy schedule. This is Hockey Inside Out. Hello and welcome to another episode of Hockey Inside Out. I am your host, Jessica Rusnak. Joining me on the panel this week is Rick Green, former NHLer, Stanley Cup champ, and former assistant coach with the Montreal Canadiens. We have Andrew Berkshire, program director at Game Over on SDPN Sports. And filling in for Stu this week, we've got Jack Todd, columnist from the Montreal Gazette. Welcome back, Jack.
Thanks very much.
So this week, the Canadiens got some bad news. David Savard, he's going to be out 6 to 8 weeks with a fractured hand. That injury came in the game against the Buffalo Sabres, where it was a crazy sequence of him trying to block the puck with everything he had. I don't think too many people are shocked that he did get injured in that. He also broke his skate blade during that period. Now, Rick, you being a former NHL defenseman, what's that like when you have your skate blade broken like that? You try and get off the ice. Have you ever had an experience like that? What can you
Actually, I did. I fell for David because obviously you're wounded and you just can't move out there. But I remember one night in Chicago, a guy named Doug Wilson who used to play the power play and shoot the puck pretty well, and I was standing in front of the net. Trying to move one of the guys, and Wilson let a shot go, and all I could feel was a big bump to my foot. And then I tried to skate into the corner after it got deflected, and there was nothing on the bottom of my boot. It basically had taken the whole thing off completely. So, talk about feeling helpless. And, of course, at that time when, everybody's geared up for on their power play, and you're of no use whatsoever. And I saw David. He was down. Not to mention, unfortunately, taking one in his hand and breaking his hand. He just fearless guy that just jumps obviously in front of everything and helps his team to win. And it's too bad, and it's a big loss to see a guy go down, and not for a short term, for a long term. And he's going to be sorely missed because he puts it out there every night.
And Martin St. Louis, he's trying to stay positive during all this. But how difficult is it for the team, especially early on in the season, losing some key players, Kirby Dach, now David Savard, Caden Gooley. How do you think this affects the team? Andrew, we'll get your thoughts first.
It's definitely tough. I think you saw after Kirby Dach went down that game against Minnesota, the guys were really crushed, right? Losing him for the whole season was a big blow to their confidence. But I think they've rebounded really, really well. Losing Caden Gooley right after that, luckily it was short term. But they've been playing really hard. I think that's something that this team seems to be able to manufacture under Marty St. Louis is a level of give a crap, for lack of a better term, that a team in this situation often doesn't really have. And, there were times over the last couple of seasons where there were stretches where it seemed like there was nothing going right. And, Nick Suzuki's the last guy from the opening lineup that's left uninjured, right? But right now, with a couple of injuries, they seem to be handling it significantly better than they have the previous two seasons. And hopefully the tide of injuries stops here, because there's only so much one team can manage.
Yeah, I worked it out. The rate they were losing players going into last night's game, they were going to lose 50 by the end of the season, which is a couple of entire rosters that you would have gone through. So I hope we don't see that. I did think that, I think it was a Tuesday night game against Minnesota right after they learned that Dach was gone for the season. They really looked gutted. Even St. Louis did. And I think the news being him, a guy who'd been through a lot of injury difficulties before, I think they felt for him personally. I think they knew how big he was in terms of, the things they were showing very early on. And but by the next game, they were already back on track, and even losing Gooley didn't affect it. And I credit St. Louis for that. He's such a positive guy. He's always going to bring that. A lot of coaches around here that were a bit on the sour side, Michel, uh, I think that the reaction would have been not as good as it has been so far.
I think Martin St. Louis needs to start selling T-shirts with his inspirational quotes from his press conferences. But Rick, for you, being a player and also a coach, how challenging is it that it's kind of like, when are we going to get a break? We're constantly losing these key players.
It's a real challenge. I mean, they've been dealing with it. It's going into their third year of just losing their lineup. It's tough to win when you have everybody in your lineup. Then you start to go, okay, why is this kind of stuff coming our way again? And if you really look at the type of injuries, I mean, Doc, he gets taken out awkwardly into the boards and ends up tearing his knee out. Is it fluke? Is it somebody got something against the Canadiens? I don't know. It's tough to put your finger on it. I mean, David Savard, he gets a slap shot right in his hand instead of his leg or somewhere, and ends up breaking his hand. So to put your finger on it, it's really tough, but it is a challenge to say, oh, here we go again. But you have to look at maybe a positive in all of this. You're going to give the challenge is going to be opportunity for some of the younger guys to come up and take more ice time and fit them into the lineup and see where they're at. They're in the rebuilding stage. Give these kids a chance to play. They're going to probably play more than what was expected of them early on, but this is an opportunity for them to check their depth chart and see what kind of guys can fill the void until they get through this storm of injuries. But injuries are part of the game. Look around the league. Key injuries in Vegas, even Washington. They got guys that are going down, but they keep on winning. Not Washington, but Vegas, and the list of some other guys or other teams that are losing key players. So you can't hang your head as a group. You have to pick yourself up and find a way to play each and every night and see where it goes. But it's unfortunate, it's difficult, but the whole league is dealing with the same stuff.
At least this time they had some depth at center. Imagine this had happened 5 years ago when DD was your number one center. Now there are 4 or 5 guys they can go to, and it's the usefulness of having versatile players around, also guys who can play the wing or center. Just the deepest I remember them being in a long time, and it's going to be tested now.
Yeah, they have a significant amount of depth in Laval this year that they didn't have last year, at every position. Center is probably the tightest, but Christian Dvorak is on track to be back in 4 more games once his time spent on long-term injured reserve is over. They've got some really strong prospects in Laval on the wing. Elias Anderson is a guy who can step in, and he needs his last real NHL shot, right? So if he gets a chance, I'd expect him to be 150% effort. Joshua Waugh, I expect, will be up at some point this season. I'd like to see them stick him down as long as possible just to keep him working and get his seasoning in the AHL. But I think he's going to force his way into the lineup. And then on defense, they have a plethora of not only good to really good defensive prospects, but a variety of different styles. So they can kind of pick and choose what they want depending on who's injured. So despite the fact that Canadiens are not a high-level team, they have the depth to kind of weather these situations in a way that they haven't over the last couple of years.
Now, the Canadiens don't have an easy schedule this week. They got 4 games in 6 nights. At least, 3 out of the 4 games are at the Bell Center, so the travel is not as bad. But what do you think is going to be the key to success this week for the Canadiens, and maybe also trying to stay healthy during this short period of time? Rick, what's your thoughts?
Well, I mean, I still, you talk about their 5-on-5 game as being pretty good as a statistic, but if I look at their overall game, I really am concerned about the number of primetime scoring chances they're giving up through turnovers, through poor decisions with the puck, and one-on-one battles. And these small details of the game that, result in, a big problem if you're not getting those things done in the right way. And I see a lot of problems in that part of their game where they've got to get better on that. They can't be playing, high risk hockey where they've got hoping that the goalie's going to save them, which, Primo did a pretty good job making some key saves, but you can't roll the dice and give up primetime scoring chances through lack of execution and poor decisions with the puck and just sloppy defensive zone play to, I know New Jersey had a real skilled lineup, but you've got to find a way to solidify that part of the game if you're going to have any type of success. So that's a key area for me where you got to show some improvement in that part of their game.
Rick, it sure looked like New Jersey pre-scouted well, eh? They know the Canadiens struggle with breakouts. The amount of turnovers at the Canadiens' blue line trying to exit that zone was astonishing in that game. I do think that despite the fact the Canadiens are not great defensively, the defensive structure has improved a little bit from last year. It seems like they're doing less man-on-man, less chasing guys around the zone, less leaving Cole Caulfield to defend the net front and try to battle big forwards. It's the defense sticking closer to the net, which I think is a good improvement. And I feel like the commitment to defense from the individuals is much higher this year, even if like the strategy is not 100%, right? I'm seeing a lot of great fights for those second chances, getting in the lanes to block shots in key times. And when teams do get their great scoring opportunities, oftentimes the goaltender has clear vision on the shot. So there are some good signs, but the game against New Jersey shows that this team still has a long way to go.
I was almost sorry to see how heavy the schedule was this week, because I think the ultimate comment on that sorry drop pass power play strategy was last night when Matheson takes a look, sees it isn't going to work, and turns it into a goal, which, that's entirely his initiative. Meanwhile, there's been about 20 times already this season when I've gone, what the bleep is he doing? When all of a sudden it looks like they've got an entry going that's going well, and then the puck is back. It's a good thing they don't have two-line pass rules going in reverse, because they've done a few of those.
We also forgot to mention about the undisciplined penalties. I know that some of them are very questionable, but the referees don't have anything against the Montreal Canadiens and the way that they're playing and the type of penalties that they're calling, which I think we all agree that you wonder, okay, are they trying to establish a no contact league? You touch the guy's hands and you're in the box. So some of them are legit calls. Some are, or a lot of them are really poor decisions by the players. Whether you tackle a guy, Jack Guy tackles a guy by the neck, you get your stick in the skates, the guy goes down. Some of it, is played up a little bit by, the guy takes almost like a dive, but it's what the rules are right now. They're calling it so tight, and Montreal's, you can't continue to take some of those offensive zone penalties, and takes away your momentum, takes away the guys that are supposed to be playing more than they are because of the stupid penalties. And they have to. I know they're addressing it, but you better figure it out sooner than later that you can't continue on that road and figure you're going to have success.
Well, hopefully whoever put this curse on the Montreal Canadiens when it comes to injuries will put an end to it soon, and they can stay healthy for the majority of the season. We're going to move on to the rapid fire section of Hockey Inside Out. So I want to get your thoughts on some of the players who have been kind of flying on under the radar so far this year. Let's start with Sean Monahan. Rick, what are your thoughts about him? I know it's still early, but what have you seen from him?
Doing great stuff out there. I think he's an excellent player. Obviously, top face-off guy. Knows how to play in both ends of the rink, and no matter who he plays with, he seems to gel well with any guys. He's really a smart guy, and nothing but good things to say about him. And they got a real good deal with getting him signed, and what he's bringing to the team. And he's going to continue to, I think, have a really good year.
He's smart. So much the pattern with them. I don't think they've brought anyone in who can't pass an IQ test. It's not like the days when, Beaulieu and Galchenyuk were out sharing a brain for the evening. These are really smart people that they bring in, and you see it across the board. But Monahan in particular, he has experience to go with the smarts. I just love watching him play. I think he's Stu's favorite player of the last 15 years is Monahan.
He's just a smart, cerebral player. He's got that veteran savvy. Everyone talks about him like he's ancient. He's just turned 29, but all those injuries, it feels like his career has been forever. I know he broke into the league very young as well, but he's just easy to like. He plays in a style that I think is very appealing to a lot of people. He stands up. He's not overly physical, but he doesn't shy away. He doesn't lose very many battles. He's quick with his decision making. He's an underrated playmaker, a decent scorer as well. There's just not much to disparage about Sean Monahan. His whole career, he was kind of seen as a liability defensively. And then with the Canadiens, he's been fantastic. He's playing on the PK, doing great work on the PK. So there's nothing to criticize with Sean Monahan.
Yeah, I'd like to, I don't know if he still has a Twitter handle, boring Sean Monahan, kind of the same thing when it comes to style of play, but it's the kind of boring that works out well. The next player I want to get your thoughts on is Jordan Harris. Andrew, why don't you take us away?
A quiet start. I think that he's playing his game. He's a quiet player. He's not very flashy. He moves the puck well. He's much stronger than a player his size is expected to be. You watch him along the board battles, and sometimes he gets out muscled, but he's very good at applying leverage with his relatively small frame. I thought what was really impressive against the Devils is how well he stuck with Jack Hughes. Hughes is one of the best players in terms of using his agility to shimmy shake around guys. It reminds me a little bit of prime Sidney Crosby, but Harris really stuck with him when they were out there against each other. It wasn't perfect, obviously. The Devils are just a much better team than the Canadiens, but I'm really impressed with Jordan Harris.
Smart, again, the same thing. And not only that, but Stu and I had a long conversation about him the other day. And Stu said he isn't just the nicest hockey player he ever met. He's the nicest guy of that age that he ever met. And that includes all of Stu's son's friends. So that's pretty high endorsement as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and positionally he's very sound. As Andrew mentioned there, he doesn't get himself in trouble. He has the advantage of being very, very mobile, so he can get to places very quickly. I still think he's trying to find, exactly what he needs to bring each and every night, whether or not he wants to do a little more offensively. But right now he's piecing his way along. Young guy, trying to learn on the details of the game, making sure he's not a liability when he's on there. And he, again, one of those smart players, as we mentioned, that's going to get better with a little more time, a little more experience, and obviously a great guy to have back there in the blue line.
Next up is Jake Evans. Jack, what is your thoughts on him?
It's really great to see him back with his looking like he did before Scheifele tried to take his head off. He's so fast. He's really valuable in the penalty kill. He's on the forecheck. He works really hard. I love watching him, especially live, because he's the kind of guy the camera isn't usually on, but he's always working. Never stops. High motor, and they have several of them up front now. So.
Yeah, he's a guy that in training camp, I think he had a bit of a rough one. When coming into the season, I was thinking, Jake Evans is in a situation where he doesn't have a lot of job security going forward with this team. You've got Owen Beck looking down the pipe, who's going to be breaking into that similar role. Christian Dvorak coming back from injury that can push him. So he's had a strong start to the season. I think he's one of those guys that has a continuous motor, always working hard. Got the first goal of the season, which last year it took him forever to score his first goal. So that was probably a really good feeling for him. He's been doing his job defensively. His line has been overmatched, but at the same time, there have been moments in games where him and Michael Pezzetta and Jesse Ylönen have provided energy to turn games around. So, job well done.
A great fourth liner. Good role player, penalty killer. Tries really hard. Tries to be at his best each shift, and a nice kid. I sat with him at the dinner with the season ticket holder, is a very, very pleasant young man, and he does his best and really cares about doing well, and hats off to him. He's gonna do his best whatever you ask of him.
Newcomer to the Habs, Tanner Pearson. They acquired him during the offseason. What have you liked from him so far? And has he lived up to the expectations when you heard about the trade? Rick, what's your thoughts?
Well, listen, he's second in scoring on the team. Who would have thought that this guy was going to come in and do what he's doing? Obviously, loves the use that he's been given. He's taking advantage of it. Good skater, good shot. Again, a classic example of what they try and bring in, guys that really care. And he's a guy that tries each and every night, each and every shift, and pleasantly surprised to see that he's been able to create what he's created offensively so far. So congrats to him. I hope it will continue, because, you need a guy like that to do what he's doing each night.
It's a great story.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jack.
Sorry. No, I just from my perspective up there, I'm just really happy with him, because about what I find a bit amusing is it always goes into every season. Everybody wants to hear about the young guys, because that's the future. That's what interests you and everything. But then we get into the season, and all of a sudden it's guys like Pearson and much maligned Brendan Gallagher, who it turns out has quite a bit left in the tank, that have been kind of leading the way, and Monahan. I don't think anybody's mentioned it yet, but Suzuki isn't exactly off to a hot start to the season, but they're taking up some of the slack.
Yeah, I've been really impressed with Pearson. Coming into the season, there was talk like, can the guy even shoot with the wrist injury that he's had? And turns out he has an absolute rocket. Every shot he takes looks like it's going to go in. It either misses the net or blows by a goalie. So it's been a great start for Tanner Pearson. I've seen people refer to it as the retirement line, but it's more like the redemption line with the Monahan, Gallagher, and Pearson, all guys who dealt with a series of terrible injuries and who've all gotten off to a really good start. It's been really fun to watch those veterans kind of lead the way in recent games for the kids who, like Suzuki, has had a tough start to the season. Kirby Dach's out. Seeing the veterans step up kind of reminds you of it is important to have those vets on rebuilding teams, to have someone there who can pick up the kids when they stumble a little bit. And I love that. I think it makes for a great storytelling and great entertainment, which, sports are about competition for sure, but they're also about entertainment and storytelling. And I think that's really important.
And they're veteran players, for good reason. They know what it takes. They've been around long enough to realize what they need to bring each night. And, like I said, those guys have their heart in the right place, and they're going to bring it every night. And, good for them to see having some success so far.
There were times during that home opener against Chicago when I thought Gallagher was going to puke on the ice. He just looked so gassed at times. He was behind the play. It was so noticeable that you cringed for the guy. This is the ultimate warrior. But Rick could correct me here. It looked to me finally like he just wasn't in game shape yet, which makes sense. You've been out on a long injury and stuff, because he's gained by leaps and bounds. It's no accident that he got the 2 goals the way he got. But the thing I noticed last night was on Foley's goal, Gallagher had been out there for a while on that empty netter at the end. And it was Gallagher who really had a good head of steam trying to catch him. He didn't get there, but he didn't look slow either. And he'd been on the ice at least, I think, 30 seconds by then.
Well, if Gallagher's out of shape, I think his dad would be pretty upset with him being a trainer and trains him all year. He hasn't been doing his homework.
Well, when a girlfriend enters the picture,
oh, you can't blame the fiance, that is for sure. And the next one, this guy with the injury to David Savard, Justin Barron, even after the game, head coach Martin St. Louis said, he's been doing a good job as they're trying to figure out what they're going to do for the next 6 to 8 weeks without him. What do you think you've seen from him, and how impressed have you been, Rick?
He's a new goal scorer back there in the blue line, two in 2 games. I mean, right place, right time, given the opportunity, he puts it away. I mean, good for him. just one area of concern, because he really likes to jump up into the play. He really wants to be, part of the offense, which is fine, but he has to make sure that the time is right and the situation is right so that he doesn't get himself on the wrong side of the play at the wrong time. And, this will come, again, with experience, understanding, when to go, when to not to go. But he's skating well. He seems to be getting better with his poise and decisions with the puck. And again, a young guy, got to be patient a little bit and let the growing pains ease up with time and experience. And again, he has the tools to be a pretty good player back there. So nice to see.
And if Barron could just get the message that he's not allowed to push guys with his stick this year, I think he'd be all right. 2 penalties in 3 games for the exact same play. Just a soft little push to the butt that guys fell over on. I don't think it's a cross-check, but the NHL is calling those cross-checks now, so Barron's got to figure that out. And he has, when he has too much time with the puck, I think he overthinks it a little bit in the defensive zone and kind of puts himself in bad situations. But I got to tell you, if Justin Barron's on the ice and the Canadiens are in the offensive zone, shoot for a rebound, because he's going to find it. He's shown us that already.
Yeah, again, he brings the smarts. I think maybe not to the same degree as some of the others, considering his decision making. But there's nothing wrong with goals. They're hard to come by. You got a guy who can score them, especially from the blue line. Just bonus all the way. I don't recall. Rick could correct me. There was a time the Gazette did a huge takeout on the blue liners of the '94 Cup era. The young guns, and this is the best group of young defensemen I've seen since then. I don't think there's any question, and it goes deep beyond. Like, I'm still waiting to see Norlinder up here. I love his game, but maybe a long wait the way everybody else is going.
Wow, since the '94 team, that's pretty impressive, Jack.
That's a while.
Well,
you weren't even born then.
Oh, I wish I wasn't born by then. Well, that is it for our show this week. Thank you so much for tuning in. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for joining me and talking about the Montreal Canadiens. And if you have a topic that you want us to discuss, well, just leave it in the comments section below on the YouTube page. We'll look for it and we'll potentially talk about it on next week's show. If you want to have more Canadiens content, well, you know where to go. Go to hockeyinsideout.com. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Make sure your notifications are on so you get all the bonus episodes. And also go to the Montreal Gazette website as well to find out more about the Montreal Canadiens. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you next week. Once again, I am Jessica Rusnak, your host of Hockey Inside Out.